What's going on, guys? My name is Triforce Addiction. Welcome back to another COD Mobile video. So today we're going to go back to actually talking about one of the recent buffs that happened within this game. And this one is going to be particularly with the Type 25. So for this buff, it's not really much other than just accuracy buffs. So there was no increase to range. There's no increase to mobility. It was just simply to increase the accuracy so you're able to land more shots at longer ranges. So I do stand a little bit corrected. There was actually I guess a modification to one of the multipliers. So the upper arm multiplier went from 1 times to 1.1 times, and the BSA improved from 2012 to 16.8. So about the arm multiplier, I kind of misremembered. I thought it was just an accuracy buff, but I actually forgot about the upper arm multiplier. And that was actually a pretty significant change because that basically makes the weapon a lot more consistent, especially when you're going around the second to third range, because around the second range, I think you're still able to actually do a 4-shot kill, but it was a little bit harder before because of the upper arm multiplier. Because, in a lot of gunfights, you're going to just sometimes end up hitting, the upper arm. It is what it is. So unfortunately, that was kind of what was holding back the weapon a little bit. So having a change like this to make it a lot better, with 4-shot damage, yeah, this is definitely going to help the weapon significantly. Not only that, like further expanding upon the ADS bullet spread buff, this was something that was actually touched upon probably a few seasons back. About a few months ago, we did get a patch for the Type 25, making it a little bit more accurate than before. It was actually pretty bad back in the day. So bad, in fact, that you would have to basically stack up just range and have a steady stock on it just to make sure that the accuracy was decent. BSA that's like 20 or above is okay for the most part, but not really if you're trying to get, kills from a longer range. And months ago, the Type 25 was around maybe like 25 at the very most, maybe even more. So if you're going to have ADS BSA that's below average like that, it's kind of in your best interest to kind of build it out in a much more heavier way where, yes, you are going to lose a bit of movement, but it's to give you a lot more accuracy when you're shooting someone pretty far away, which was basically a bad thing for the weapon because it kind of restricted you from a lot of freedom in terms of how you want to build the gun. Because you can't build it really fast because you're going to further decrease your accuracy. So your only good choice to have your weapon perform at its best, especially one with very low accuracy, you're going to have to build it out to be a lot more heavy. And it usually isn't really ideal because there's already a lot of different weapons that have similar or even faster fire rates than this weapon that have like maybe twice as much accuracy as this one. So like using this gun is just simply putting you at a huge disadvantage. So having that very first ADS bullet spread buff in a long time did help the weapon because, I mean, I don't know if you guys know or if you guys been playing this game long enough, you would know that the Type 25 was actually meta for a few months alongside the M13. And when they nerfed the accuracy by a significant amount. They nerfed the stopping power reload. They nerfed basically everything about this gun. And since then, it was never really touched too often. I mean, they did some improvements with stopping power reload. It used to be 30 rounds. Now they increased it to 34 rounds. So, I mean, that's pretty cool as well. They also decreased I think they took out the bullet spread accuracy penalty for the stopping power. I think that was a thing at the time. And they also kind of significantly lowered the recoil downsides that the magazine did have as well. So they want to make that attachment a little bit more usable, but even then it wasn't really enough. So for a long time we had to actually keep this build extremely fast, or sorry, extremely slow. And, after these BSA buffs, it made it so that we could now freely use the weapon as light as we want without really suffering a lot of accuracy loss. So since it's now at 16, if you want to build it out for full speed, I'm assuming that maybe it'll go around like 20 at the very most. Maybe even more if you're like building it out for full speed, but I don't know what kind of nut job would actually build it out like that. But in most cases, even if you're building like a speed build with more range and with a granulated grip tape, like kind of balancing things out, you're still going to be below 20, probably around 18, maybe 17 accuracy. So I think that's actually pretty good for the Type 25. I think at the end of the day, that's honestly why bullet spread accuracy buffs are very important because the more accurate the weapon is, the more freedom you have to build it out for speed. And given that, this game has changed quite a bit to the point where it's no longer really that campy, it's a lot more rusher friendly. Yeah, you're gonna want to build it out for speed, so or at least to have everything balanced so it performs well. But obviously, there's a reason why it even got improved in the first place because now we have a weapon that just got released like a little more than a day ago called the Ram 7, which basically is just another Type 25. So I guess they wanted to have a weapon that could directly compete with it. The Ram 7 and the Type 25 in terms of bullet spread accuracy are pretty close. They're both very accurate. They're both below, 20. So yeah, like it could go either way. I do plan to make a video, kind of like a Type 25 versus Ram 7 video to really determine whether or not one weapon is better than the other. But, generally speaking, it's both of them are just really interchangeable. You could really use one or the other and you'll have almost the same result. So at the end of the day, with this buff, it basically made the Type 25 a lot more consistent with its 4 tap and 5 tap damage, and also just a lot more accurate at longer ranges. So you don't have to worry about, building out your weapon to be a little too heavy more than your liking. And I think that's a good thing for this weapon. It's kind of been treated like garbage for a while, and it's nice to see a buff like this happen. I don't expect any more buffs. I think it's pretty good where it is. But again, I mean, COD Mobile devs could sometimes do some psychopathic things with certain weapons, so I wouldn't be surprised if, like, maybe the next update they further buff it again. But anyways, that's pretty much it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you think of the weapon. Have you guys actually used it? Just let me know in the comment section. I'll see you guys next time.